Hello everyone and welcome back to Alternative Apex here in Singapore for round 9 of the 2022 Formula 1 season. We've had a little bit of a break, well I say a little bit, it's been quite a long one, sorry about that everyone. But we are back for round 9 of the season. Of course, last time out we saw a record-breaking 8th World Championship for Lewis Hamilton, which means of course sadly there's no longer a title fight this season. However, it is not over entirely, the racing is not over entirely at least, as we come here to Singapore, and next time we will be going to Mexico for the season finale. The cars are on the grid though now for Singapore, and well, as we saw last season, there's a few grid penalties here and there, which have mixed things up a bit going into this round of the season. So, let's head over to the grid to see what they've done, because, well, there's certainly some surprises in there. So, your starting grid for the Singapore Grand Prix it's Sergio Perez on the pole position here, alongside Valtteri Bottas, the winner last time out in Singapore. On the second row of the grid, here's our first major surprise. It's Pato O'Ward alongside Lewis Hamilton, followed up by Carlos Sainz and Sebastian Vettel. A strong showing in qualifying from both Chevrolet drivers there. Then it's Tsunoda and Stroll with Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly rounding out the top 10. In 11th and 12th it is Daniel Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc with George Russell and Antonio Giovinazzi just behind them. Nicholas Latifi and Fernando Alonso in 15th and 16th, and in the final 6 places on the grid we have Max Verstappen, Esteban Ocon, Nikita Mazepin, Guan Yu Zhou, Mick Schumacher and Robert Schwartzman rounding out a Alfa Romeo back row. Verstappen way down the grid, as you've seen. Grid penalties haunted his end to last season, and they've done it again this season. But we are racing here in Singapore now, and we are underway. Good start there from Sergio Perez, who jumps straight into the lead, and that's Pato O'Ward around the outside there of Valtteri Bottas into turn 2. Can he make this move stick off the start? From third position on the grid, can O'Ward and the Chevrolet get immediately up into second place? He's got a good exit there. And can he outdrag the Mercedes? Yes, he can. That Chevrolet's top speed increasing race by race, and on this occasion finds himself up into second place with Bottas down to third, and now having to defend from his teammate Lewis Hamilton, who is going to sweep past surely here as they dive down into the next corner. The Mercedes are still with a lock up there from, I believe that was Bottas. Hamilton trying to race around the outside, now to the inside he goes, and that looks like the move is done there for Lewis Hamilton, the champion, up into third place here, with Bottas dropping down to fourth, but it's Perez who leads the way. And Bottas at the end of lap 1 into the pit lane, the reigning winner here in Singapore. An early pit stop for him, surely he's going to take him out of contention here. Must have been some wing damage there from that opening lap, but we got a big battle here in the mid-pack. That is Sainz, Tsunoda and Vettel all battling it out for 4th position. Such close racing here as they make their way through turns 1, 2 and 3. Carlos Sainz pulling ahead just a little bit of those two. Great move by the Chevrolet driver to go around the outside of the pair of drivers. Tsunoda around the outside of Sebastian Vettel. Yes, he's pulled that move off. The young Japanese driver now with his teammate following through on Sebastian Vettel. And let's see if he can make this move stick. He's going to be around the outside there for Pierre Gasly. Now to the inside, not quite able to repeat the move that Hamilton put on Bottas. But on lap 6 of the race, Pato O'Ward is coming into the pit lane, followed in by Lewis Hamilton here from 2nd and 3rd place. Pato O'Ward running with some pretty decent pace of that first stint, and with the undercut being quite a powerful strategy here in Singapore, he could well get himself out in a good position once Sergio Perez pits. But let's see, a big part of whether he gets a good undercut will be whether he comes out in traffic, and none to be seen. Maybe a Haas just up the road, but for the most part, clear air for Pato O'Ward. And the next lap, Sergio Perez tries to cover off the undercut, and he comes into the pit lane. But can he pull it off as he goes into double? That is Pato O'Ward and Lewis Hamilton flying past on the outside there. And Sergio Perez drops down to a net P3 there, and it is Pato O'Ward up into the net race lead. The Mexican driver out in front here, but there's a group of cars yet to pit. They include Latifi, Giovinazzi, Mazepin and Schwartzman. So I'll have to wait and see how those guys play a factor. And immediately we see Pato O'Ward making the move on Mazepin. Going to be a risky move here. He knows that he's got to make this move quickly because he cannot get held up and put back into Lewis Hamilton and the others. And they're still side by side here through this part of the lap. Not a place you usually see much battling. And they're still side by side, so close to hitting the walls through that tunnel there. But it is Pato O'Ward who gets ahead of Nikita Mazepin. And into the pits this time, Nicholas Latifi. He's going to bring his car down pit road, which now means all the drivers on that alternative strategy have pitted, and it is O'Ward, Hamilton and Perez up front, as Vettel and Bottas now battle away for that 4th position of course, Bottas with the early damage means his strategies are a bit off with everyone else's. He's still going to do the same amount of stops. However, his tyre wear on both stints is going to be much higher than others. So as you can see here, already he's getting passed by Sebastian Vettel, who's on the inside of him. Another corner where, well, the corner was designed not to allow overtaking due to the bridge that comes after it. But Vettel making a move there, brilliant move. And Bottas dropping down into 5th place with Pierre Gasly in 6th, now looking to pressure him. But on lap 18 of the Grand Prix, Pato O'Ward still leading this race. He's going to come into the pits from the lead. Is Lewis Hamilton following him? Once again, yes it is. But Perez again stays out a lap longer and going for an overcut this time. But we saw in the first stint the undercut was very important. So it could well be important once again here. O'Ward coming out in 8th place, a little bit more traffic this time though, so that could well play a factor. But he is split between him and Lewis Hamilton by Antonio Giovinazzi there, who has yet to pit for a second time. And we can now see immediately O'Ward is going to have to look at trying to get past some of these back markers. But at the moment, not quite able to do so. Perez into the pits on lap 19, again going a lap longer. So slightly different strategy down at Red Bull. That could well aid them later in the race. But for now, it's probably going to cost them because that undercut has been very powerful. But maybe traffic has had a say in that matter. And no, it hasn't, because O'Ward does continue to lead this race. Perez continues in 3rd, or does he, as Giovinazzi comes around the outside. Giovinazzi is on a different strategy, so it isn't too big of a deal if he gets past Perez. But it is also important for Perez to get ahead so that he doesn't get held up too much, and he does do so. And Perez now in some clear air. He's going to have to hunt down the top 2 drivers later in this race with the slightly fresher rubber that he has. Bottas charging his way back through the field. He's battling Nicholas Latifi here. Latifi was doing a 1-stop actually, so he could actually make his way into the points if things go his way. Will to will Bottas here. This is a legitimate fight actually for P4 between Latifi and Bottas, but Bottas, unsurprisingly in a Mercedes on medium tyres, clears the Williams driver, who now has to look at his mirrors as Vettel's going to risk another move here, is he? On the inside, can he pull another move off here? This would be a brave one. They're still going to be side by side. He's going to go around the outside. What a move, Sebastian Vettel. Around the outside, going onto the bridge, and well, that one was very impressive there from the German. And Latifi comes into the pits. Perhaps he picked up some damage battling one of those drivers. So that is the one stop out of the window for Nicholas Latifi. And he now finds himself out of the points and not really in the fight anymore. But up front, the battle is on. Lewis Hamilton, Pato O'Ward, reigning champion versus the young Mexican. They're going to go wheel to wheel. Hamilton on the inside. And can he make the move? No, he can't. Around the outside goes Pato O'Ward. Great move there. He's going to hold the lead just a little bit longer, but that Chevrolet clearly not quite as good on the long runs as the Mercedes. Perez getting into this fight as well now. And once again, Hamilton using the DRS to all of his advantage. To the inside he goes. Can he make this move work? Late on the brakes, but again O'Ward on that outside line. He's got the traction, but this time Hamilton gets a much better exit. They're going to stay wheel to wheel into the next corner. This is where Hamilton passed Bottas on the opening lap. Can he repeat a similar move? Now on the inside, they're still side by side here. Oh, banging wheels there as they come through that corner. And this time it looks like they've single file. No, they're not. They're going to go back to 2 wide. And another wheel to wheel battle into this corner. This is just crazy racing here in Singapore. It is brilliant to watch, and what a race we're having for the win here. Hamilton down in 2nd place, and let's see, can he make another attempt at the move on Pato O'Ward? Looks like his DRS is open, but is he close enough? Looks like he might have lost a little bit of time there. And that might have been is a missing end plate for Lewis Hamilton. In that little scrap with Pato O'Ward, he's lost his front right end plate. That is going to be a significant loss in downforce for the Mercedes driver, who now has to defend from Perez, and is going to come into the pits here with just 4 laps left in the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton is bringing his Mercedes down pit lane, and well, that's his chance at the win over. But down in the mid-pack, Carlos Sainz is racing his way up the order. Whilst his teammates battling for the win, Sainz is trying to get himself into that best of the rest position. The Chevrolet car does look quick. Of course, Sainz getting stuck in that mid-pack early on has held him back a bit. But someone that has not been held back today is Patricio O'Ward, the Chevrolet driver, the Mexican driver. Is going to come around the final corner to win the Singapore Grand Prix. And for the first time in Formula 1, it is Chevrolet on the top step of the podium. What a drive by the young Mexican as he leads home a Mexican 1-2. Sergio Perez in 2nd place there. Not quite able to make the move late in the race, but a brilliant Grand Prix nonetheless. And well, that was certainly a surprise result going into this race. I don't think anyone expected to see a Chevrolet on the top step of the podium this year, let alone on raw pace. Of course, you could argue Hamilton's wing damage had a bit to play in it, but at the end of the day, O'Ward, he held on there at the late stage of the race and made that work. And what a drive! What a drive there! And I'm sure him and the Chevrolet team will very much enjoy the champagne on the podium, as, well, their first time, but I doubt it'll be their last time, because, well, that car and driver combination proved very strong today, and that's only in their second year in F1. What can they accomplish in future years? It is really all to play for now. In future seasons of F1, Hamilton may have had it easy this year, but with the likes of Verstappen and Red Bull getting back into the fight, Sainz, O'Ward and Chevrolet getting into the fight maybe as well, and who knows, maybe Vettel, Ferrari, maybe they can get themselves in the mix as well. Next year has a lot to offer, but here are your results for the Singapore Grand Prix here in 2022. O'Ward wins the race with Chevrolet from third on the grid. Sergio Perez drops from pole position down to second place, but still a strong drive there for the Red Bull driver. Valtteri Bottas makes a very strong recovery back up onto the podium after a lap 1 incident costing him a bit of wing damage. Vettel, another brilliant day for the Ferrari driver. He's in 4th position with Pierre Gasly in 5th. Fernando Alonso in 6th. Carlos Sainz, the teammate to the race winner, he didn't have a great day today there. Only in 7th place, losing 2 positions from his grid spot. But, I mean, I don't think Chevrolet will be too worried about that one after what happened with their other driver. Lando Norris in 8th, their former teammate, of course, of Carlos Sainz, with Esteban Ocon in 9th, and Yuki Tsunoda brings his AlphaTauri home in 10th place. Now on to the driver standings after the Singapore Grand Prix. Of course, we know Lewis Hamilton already the champion, but his lead there still 51 points at the top. Lando Norris' second place, though, could come at risk from Sergio Perez in his late season form. With the Mexican Grand Prix next up, a home race for Perez, that could well give him the push that he needs to take second away in the Drivers' Championship. In 4th in the championship is Gasly, still having a great season for him. Verstappen equal on points, though, so the AlphaTauri and Red Bull teams could well end up battling over that position, with Pato O'Ward that win really jumping him up the standings significantly, getting himself up to 6th, but it just shows how close the season has been, that just one win can jump him up so much in the standings, to a point where he's now 6th in the Drivers' Championship, ahead of the Mercedes of Bottas, who of course he hasn't had a great season, but still for Chevrolet to be ahead of a Mercedes is a huge step for that team. In 8th, it is Antonio Giovinazzi, 9th, Daniel Ricciardo, 10th, Sebastian Vettel, 11th, Charles Leclerc, disappointing season there for the Ferrari driver. Now on to the constructor standings. Mercedes do have the title wrapped up there, with Red Bull sitting second, jumping up ahead of McLaren there. Those two look like they're going to battle into Mexico for that second place. AlphaTauri sitting 4th, just ahead of Ferrari, who jump Aston Martin. As Chevrolet jump themselves up into 7th in the Constructors' Championship. Alpine sitting 8th, Alfa Romeo in 9th, but I mean, it's such a big points drop-off from those with points to those without. You see the top 9 teams. I mean, Alfa Romeo sitting 9th in the Constructors' standings with 43 points. I'm fairly certain last season's 9th place in the Constructors' Championship had maybe 20-something points. It's a hugely closer field this season, and it really shows there when you see stats like that. But Williams and Haas still without points. Latifi got so painfully close today, but just that damage late on, it really did cost him, and it's a shame. But both Williams and Haas are getting closer and closer and closer to getting into those points, and that could well be a battle that goes into next season right there. But that is it for round 9 of the season here in 2022 of Alternative Apex. One more race left in the 2022 season before we hop over to the next year, 2023. We've seen 2 very different seasons so far in Alternative Apex. Season 1, that great title fight between Verstappen and Hamilton. This season, it's been a bit more of a easier life for Lewis Hamilton, cruising to that 8th World Championship. But as we've seen throughout the later stages of the season, the field seems to be getting closer and closer and closer. And, well, if that keeps up, we are in for one hell of a 2023 season. But there is still one more round left this season, so make sure you don't miss out on the 2022 Mexican Grand Prix. I'll see you there.